Hi, this video is on daily love assignments. How you can have a better, more fulfilling, more peaceful, more relaxed life, feel better about yourself, how you can practice being more loving. We're going to discuss 5 topics in this short video, and in each of the topics you'll notice that the title has a verb in it. Now, the reason it has a verb in it is because positive change, positive improvement in your life has to start with action, has to start with a behavior change, something different. And we want to be motivated to make that effort. So each of these 5 topics start out with something that we do. Each of the 5 topics also discuss a small thing. We're talking about small changes, not large ones. And as we talk about them, you realize, well, I can do that. I can do this little thing. But it adds up to a large change, a significant change in our lives if we practice on a daily basis. So let's get started. The first exercise we're going to talk about is entitled Make Someone a Little Happier. Now, we're talking about little, as I mentioned in the introduction, small things that we can do, small actions we can take. And here it's all about looking around us and being aware as we go through our day of what we can do to make someone feel better. It could be something small like offering them a cup of coffee, buying them a cup of coffee or a soda pop, or complimenting them on a new hairstyle. If you notice they've changed their hairstyle, or something that they're wearing today that they haven't worn before, that you notice it and compliment them on it. Or if they do a good job, that's something to compliment them on it. Or if they do something nice for you, to make sure you thank them for it. And you know, one of the most wonderful words, I think, is appreciate. To say, you know, I appreciate what you've done. I appreciate it. Thank you. It means so much, and it's such a small thing. And this involves being on the lookout for things you can do, things you can say, and we're talking about small things. We're not talking about actions of worldwide importance. We're talking about some little thing that you see that you can do for someone else that makes them feel good. And you know what happens when we do that? It makes you feel good too. And you deserve to feel good. So today, as you go about your day, look for things you can do, things you can say, small things that don't cost anything necessarily, to make someone feel happier. Now, this second exercise, think positive thoughts about someone. It can be easy if we love the person already, or if they're our best friend. It can be challenging, and the purpose of these assignments is to challenge you, to stretch you, to make you grow. What I'm suggesting here is not to just stay in the safe territory of thinking positive thoughts about someone that you just think is fantastic, but try to think a positive thought. And we're talking about small changes here. Try to think a positive thought about someone that you may not particularly like that well. We all have positive traits, gifts, things about us. And I think that it's good for us to spend some time focusing on that sometimes, rather than seeing someone and immediately all of the negative things, negative experiences, negative memories are the only thing we dwell on. Yes, they're there. I'm not pretending that you should pretend that you like someone that you really don't like. But give them credit for the good things about them. Look for something, even in someone that you don't get along with, and say to yourself, I may disagree with them on a lot of things, but I have to admit that they have a gift for this, or a knack for that, or they can do this well. I'll give them that. I still disagree with them, but I will see that they also have a positive side. I know how difficult this can be. I realize it's a challenge, but that's the whole point of these assignments, is to have you step outside of your normal behavior, your normal thought patterns, your normal rut, and look at people with a wider lens. Look at not only the things that bother you, but also acknowledge and at least admit the good side of that person. In the long run, it will begin to affect your point of view toward them, your perception of them, even if it's in a small way. This is a wonderful exercise to do, and yes, it is hard. It does take work because we're not used to doing that. We're not used to giving compliments or positive attributes to anyone that we don't like. Let's try to change that. The third exercise has to do with celebrating something you have. It's about focusing on gratitude, being grateful for what we have. You know, it's easy for us to focus on the lack, the void, the vacuum, what we wish were different. We're sort of programmed that way all through our lives to dwell on the things that are wrong, that need improving. And there's nothing wrong with dwelling on things that need improving about ourselves, about our life. Because that's part of improving our life, is acknowledging what's not right. But if that's all we do, it can be quite a downer. So this exercise is to get you to stop doing that for a while and focus on the things you're grateful for in your life. Now that can be something about you, your mind, it can be anything. Your ability to study, your body, the way you stay in shape, how healthy you are, how good you are at your work, how good your relationship is going with someone, and you're doing your hardest to make that relationship a success, and you feel good about that. This is a time it could be emotional, spiritual, it could be material. It could be that you're happy for the house that you have, or the apartment that you have. You could be happy for the car you have. Maybe it's a brand new one and you just love it. Maybe it's an old one, but it runs. It doesn't matter. It's about being grateful. It's about focusing. And yes, even for this exercise, you can look at material things and being thankful for what we have. It doesn't mean that you don't want to improve things and be better and to have more and all that sort of thing. You want to make more money, maybe have more income, but be thankful for what you have. It's about deliberately focusing on the positive. Gratitude is so important for leading a life of peace and happiness. To be grateful for what we have. It doesn't mean, again, that we don't want better and we work for things to be better, but to be grateful for where we are, for who we are, and what we have. So pick out one thing today, is the exercise, and examine how you are grateful for it. You're grateful to have it. You're grateful that it's part of your life. It will make a big difference, because instead of focusing always on the negative, what's missing, what went wrong, focus on something that you're just thankful for that you have in your life. Now this exercise focuses on forgiving someone for one little thing, and the word that I have repeated throughout these exercises is little things, small steps. Most of the things that we're offended by tend to be on the Richter scale of emotional trauma, tend to be smaller slights. We may make a big deal about things that happen to us, but most of the things that happen in our lives are not life-threatening, horrible, terrible things. Bad things do happen to us, traumatic things, terrible things. But most of the time, the things that we're offended by and have a hard time getting over don't fall in that category. They fall in the category of everyday slights and everyday insults and everyday transgressions that we take offense to. So what I'm asking here is to focus on one of those small things and forgive that person. Overlook what that person said or did that bothers you. And again, when we forgive, it doesn't mean that we forget. It doesn't mean that we agree with what happened and so forth. It means that we accept it, and we realize that that person, again, and this involves somewhat of the other exercises where we can also say, yes, the situation could be improved, but this person does have some good attributes. This person, I don't know what he or she was thinking when they did what they did. I don't know why they did it. But they also have good attributes. And even if you're not sure what those attributes are, it's okay to say, for this exercise, I'm not sure what those positive attributes are. Perhaps I don't know them that well. But I'll assume that they do and that they meant well. And I find it irritating what they did, but I'm going to overlook it. I'm going to forgive them for it. And we're going to go on from here. Because, it doesn't help you to hold a resentment against someone for something they did. And again, we're talking on the Richter scale of emotions. Small things. The slights of every day. They didn't invite me to sit at their table with them at lunch. They didn't wave when they went by this morning. They didn't say good morning to me when I came in the office. And I could go on. These are the kinds of things that we tend to not forgive and we tend to be resentful over most of the time. And what I'm asking today, and what these exercises are for, again, I'll repeat this. The reason we're picking small things is because big changes start by changing small things, by taking small steps. If you can develop a habit of forgiving people, forgiving someone for a small thing, you can get the knack of it. It can come easier, and you'll find yourself being able to overlook the slights and perceived transgressions that you think happened, and maybe the situation isn't even exactly what you thought it was. Maybe you misinterpreted it. Forgiving people gives us a chance to get past that and go on with life. And we're talking about small things. So today, forgive someone for some small thing that they did or said to you, and go on with things. And even though this may be hard at first, the more you practice this, the easier it gets. This fifth and last exercise pertains only to you. You don't need anyone else involved to practice it. It has to do with taking some small thing, but it may not be a small thing necessarily for this exercise, and forgive yourself. Whatever defect or whatever you think you have, whatever mistake you think you've made in the past, forgive yourself just for today. And what I mean by that is, so many times we do something and perhaps it's caused a lot of damage in your life. It was highly toxic what you did. And it disrupted relationships. It may have caused divorces. It may have caused you to lose relationships with family, close friends. But we need to move on from there, and it doesn't help you to beat yourself over the head. Now, that's easy to say and difficult to implement, because if we know that we've done something wrong, we've made a mistake, a terrible mistake, and it caused maybe irreparable damage in our relationships, it's hard to get over that. But it is possible. And again, so many people mistake getting over it, like, well, am I supposed to forget it? Am I supposed to pretend like it never happened and just go into denial? No, that's not what this is about. It's about getting on with life. It's about seeing that beating yourself over the head for something you did or said, perhaps as terrible as that was, doesn't help at this point. You have to go on. The question always is, what am I going to do now? So to get into the habit of letting the past go, there may be many of you who resist that and say, well, I can't. There isn't any way. It's not possible I could ever get over what I've done to my relationships. Well, then I'm asking you to do it just for one day. Can you do it just for one day? Can you say, I'm going to forgive myself for the things I've done wrong, for the mistake I made, the horrible mistake. I'm going to suspend my judgment of myself just for today. And we're going to have a moratorium. We're going to have a day of peace. And try your best to stick to that. Take it out of your mind. It's there, yes, what you did, you did. But try to move on and focus on thoughts of love and nurturing for yourself, just for today. And ask yourself, can't you do that for one day? Well, if you can't do it for one day, then try a half a day. My point is, I've mentioned in the other exercises, if we start something like this small and say, well, okay, I'll try to be good to myself and not beat myself down, at least for one day. At least for one day. I don't know if I could do it longer than that, but at least for one day. You practice that over and over. Maybe once a week. Even if you don't, your heart isn't in it. Even if you think this is silly, it doesn't even feel right, it's ridiculous. Do it anyway. Practice forgiving yourself for one day. And again, what will happen if you're faithful in doing this on a regular basis and you put your heart into this, you'll find that it becomes easier the next time you take this day and forgive yourself and just live a life free of the guilt and the misery that at this point you're inflicting on yourself. Because, it doesn't do any good for you to do that. All it does is it just makes it very difficult for you to move, makes it impossible for you to move on with your life. And so all I'm asking is, by doing this exercise, I think you're going to see that it's possible. I can forgive myself. And maybe if I can do it for one day and be happy and go on with my life, maybe the next time I'll try it for 2 days. I'll suspend the harsh judgment that I've imposed on myself. This is a way to get on with your life, to be happy and to rebuild your life after admittedly terrible things that may have happened. And again, it isn't about denying things and imagining that nothing ever happened. We're not talking about that. But we're talking about, again, to be happy and to move on in life and to rebuild the life. You have to forgive yourself. And so don't let your lack of forgiveness stand in the way of having the life that you deserve. So try it, just for one day. See how it works. So there you have it. This is the end of the video on daily love assignments. It was a short video, and I wanted to point out a few things that you could do on a daily basis. A few exercises that you could do in a small way without taking a lot of time, that can have a drastic, a huge effect on your life. And again, as I pointed out in the video, big changes happen one small step at a time. So don't look at these exercises and say, well, there isn't much to that. It was a little thing I did and I let it go. But if you practice these things on a daily basis and you put your heart and soul in them, you will be amazed at the change that will happen in your life. And you'll be amazed at how easy it is to do these exercises in the days that follow. It's all about changing habits. It's all about getting out of the rut we've been in. And again, as I pointed out, these 5 things are exercises. They have verbs in the title. They call for action. You have to do something. I'm asking that you do a small thing, but you have to do something. And making that effort begins the process of changing habits and getting us out of ruts, changing negative habits to more positive ones. So give these exercises a try. I think you'll find that the love in your life will expand considerably over time. You'll have better relationships, not only with others, but most importantly, with yourself.